So we start with Lamatsun Kappa Guru Yoga, then we'll offer a mandala as a token for requesting the teachings, and then we'll correct the motivation with refuge and bodhicitta. All right. Just a second. All right. From the heart of the sever of the 100 deities of the Shida, on the peak of cloud resembling clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, listen, Lawson Drakpa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on the lying throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit from a mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind is the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its action and explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renown. To you are meaningful to see, hear, and remember are prostrate. Pleasant drinking waters, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light-scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I've collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and riches meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Sever will sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect pure holy gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dhammakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dhamma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teachings and all transmigrated beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure loss and Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi Poki Jun Shimento Tam Ra Deshi Ni De Gen Pari Sangye Shindu Mi Te Owa I Go Kunandang Shin La Chu For the merits of having offered this mandala to Lamatsun Kappa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losang Drakpa. Or the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous and extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplish the yoga of two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyataya. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, all beings of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one, enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and the imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We will recite the 5-line Mixima verse 3 times. Mi meze wete chen chen rezi, chen mekin bai wangpo jampen ya, dupu malu jonze sa weda, kanche kenbe tu gen songa pa, lo sandra pe sham la soa de. Mi meze wete chen chen rezi, chen mekin bai wangpo jampen ya, dupu malu jonze sa weda, kanche kenbe tu gen songa pa, lo sandra pe sham la soa de. Me metse wete chen chen rezi, jime kembe wambo jambe ya, dupo malu jonze sanwet, kanche kembe tsu yen zong pa, lo sandra pe sham la soa de. Zogi Chonamla Chanchu Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chishnagi Betsonagi Dola Benches Ange Dropasho Chondan Soki Chonamla Chanchu Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chishagi Betsonagi Dola Benches Ange Dropasho Chondan Soki Chonamla Chanchu Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dage Chesheki Betsonangi Dola Penchi Sange Dopasho.
Jinso Parship Troop Nangi. Jimbo the Tsultrim is the song sing the Kudo. Is the Tari and Savi Korti. What is here as a Sopa Court.
We've been looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's presentation of the middling stages to the path of enlightenment, or his middling presentation to the stages of the path of enlightenment. We're now covering the stages of the path of those of the great scope, and we have been looking at the training in the six perfections. So we've already covered the way to train in the perfection of generosity, then the way to train in the perfection of ethical discipline. And today we're going to pick up on the section that we left off in the previous session and looking at the stages of training in the perfection of patience.
Oh, Diresha, Tadi Chatan Jasi Chanju Sembi, Tanyamlingi Nanga Chishu Chik, Yan Di Chagdo, is Tanganzu Mizenalaya, Kichishu Chik, Rosu Tachi Kibuch, Kinde Mengi Yomara Stinza, and Kibuch Yong Sadi, and it's Papebu Chinro. Tamba Dilvelo, Get to Yati, a Kichishu Chagoyza, and it's Sobi Yaman Diono, then Papebuti Yosadi, or Teresha.
And so this perfection of patience is a bodhisattva practice. And it is an essential point, such an important point in our practice. In our life, we want happiness and well-being. What it means is that we want our mind to be at ease, to be spacious. And without patience, that will not come about, right? So we have to have patience in order to develop a mind that is ease, that is calm.
There's that, Tanda Tsudo, the Soba said, Tanda Tsudo, the Ani in a Kangalaya, Kanga Chivi Kautulaya, Doni Chituya, and she control Kiedo Chivi Kautulaya, Sam Trudo Chivi Kautulaya, and Sam Mantuba, and Doni Chituya. Teni G. Kasotachi Kali Jaugosalia, Ani, Doni Chin, Kali Jautuya, Dinti, lot of the Sobaresha, the Soviet Sword Resha.
And so what makes it easy for us to deal with challenges in our life, to make it possible for us to deal with difficult situations is patience, developing patience or endurance in our mind.
What did that? Can the subject Koran Kabin Monsoon, Koran Kabin Mon? Sumba, Sabin Mon, Sabin Mon, Sabiyawa, Sabajim Tikso. Ambo never Chabasan, don't Jung, never. Then never.
And so when we look at the practice of patience, the text begins with explaining how to train in patience. So there are three main points: the nature of patience, the subdivisions of patience, and how to generate patience in one's continuum. Let's begin with the nature of patience. It reads, the nature of patience is the mind abiding at ease without being overwhelmed by harm and suffering, as well as a very staunch belief in the Dharma.
Having also this one the German John Capital, same two bread, someone you can check it. German John, the Chong, Nation the Chong, and same two bread as well. That didn't go to same on to same was never keep. That's to be so having all this.
And so looking at the nature, the very nature of patience, it says it is a mind abiding at ease. It is abiding at ease or in its natural state without being overwhelmed by harm and suffering. And so looking at the different things that occur to us in our life, we face challenges and difficulties, and thereby our mind becomes either distressed or disturbed. We experience suffering. And so the nature of patience is not to allow that to happen, but the mind to remain at ease, to remain in its natural state.
That living on the Abu Shiva and serving young Tony, and never change nutrition younger, and champagne charity. Yazajana Yabu said some of this stuff. As neatly a cognitive cultura, any when a natural night cultura. And in Nata Pigi, Chaya Toya, Robert Chibor Mado, Nata Navicabula, Tajana Nata Gizu, Dichi Chomari, Dion Chomari, Pigi Energy, Higana with Tanga Chedevana, and never the same to grow.
This is the nature of patience. And if we develop that mind which is undisturbed, mind that is at ease, the mind that remains in its natural state, particularly in relation to our Mahayana practice, we'll be able to well practice our attitude of helping others or benefiting others. In taking into consideration that we do experience difficulties and problems in our life, like for example, when someone, for example, experiences sickness, when they get sick, if we were to deal with that with patience, we'd be able to be of greater benefit to that person. Whereas if we become overly restricted in our attitude in relation to that person, telling them, for example, that they won't be able to recover from their situation, they're not allowed, they're not supposed to do this or that, and so forth. If we become in that sense overbearing, we're not going to be able to benefit that person to a great degree. To be able to benefit that person, the mind needs to be more, it is more quiescent.
And not the long some people that have racing middle of Lakshavana. And Midi Nanda Giva, not a Ganga, Subumadi, and similar Nanda Gives. Listen, Mika Madeva, and made it should do just a lot. Can you see him with another? Mitchell Pili and Nagiovano, we are who Shayati vacation with us. Now, Kabulaya, you're going to change to stop 6-7. You need that story daily.
Geshe and having lived here for a few years, say that sometimes when people get sick and then being, for example, told all the facts, all the grim predicament of the sickness, telling them, for example, how serious the situation is and so forth, In many situations, it can give rise to fear in the mind, and fear is not helpful. So if there's any way an illness or sickness that occurs in the body, but then also on top of that, the body and mind are made unwell because of fear, before of anxiety, it's not helpful. It can actually exacerbate one's physical or mental situation. So the most important thing when we Geshe reckons that when we deal with others is to make them be at ease, with a mind that is at ease, with a mind that is calm. If we become overly restricted or overly tough in dealing with sickness and situation, it is likely that things will not go well. It's probably related to the tradition or the habit of doing things in particular places. This is the way that things are done here in a place like this. In Tibetan society, for example, when someone becomes sick with a terminal condition and they go to see a doctor, in most cases, you can say that 99% of the cases, the doctor would not reveal all the grim predicament of that person that is experiencing a terminal situation, because the overall attitude to that is that it's not going to help them to maintain a state of mind that is at ease, that is relaxed. Their carers, those that care for them, might know the predicament, but the person themselves that is undergoing through a terminal condition that from which they will not recover are not really told the whole extent of the illness in most cases. And so it is possible that there is a small percentage of people that might recover from a situation that is really difficult, that is really grim, with the help of a state of mind that is more at ease, more relaxed. Whereas Geshe reckons that if one's state of mind is so uptight and so full of fear or nervous, there will be less chances for recovery. Sometimes what happens is that when someone is going through a terminal condition, when they're being told what the situation is, they lose heart, they lose courage, and then they quickly die. So then, all in all, we want to think of what would be the most helpful thing that I can do in order to help that person. What is the beneficial thing that I can do in order to help them to maintain a calm and relaxed state of mind?
Dunga Joe, the river Dunga Joe Marse, and same to each of Savano, Kama Chim Shudele, no rover, and Digi Toya, Robert Chito, and the deep Shender Road, that Shender choked to the red.
And so all of this is said with respect to what the nature of patience is. So we said that it is a mind abiding at ease in a natural state without becoming overwhelmed by harm and suffering, without being disturbed. Some might have this great fortitude in their mind, in their heart. They develop this strong mind. They know the key point, they understand the key points in the Dhamma, so that when they're faced with suffering, with challenges, the mind does not become disturbed. They still maintain this fortitude in their heart. But those that do not have that fortitude, or those who are not skilled in the key points of the Dhamma, it is possibly that when physical pain, physical suffering is encountered, that the mind becomes disturbed. So if the mind becomes disturbed, there is an additional level of suffering that they undergo, physical and mental suffering. And so this is not helpful. So in terms of then the value or the importance of the perfection of patience, it is better to employ means to keep the mind at ease in its natural state.
Then John Nibati, sure, I'm never seen the neighbor. That the kitchen, right? That the kitchen, Jimmy Passing, that kitchen, sure, I'm never seen the neighbor.
So it says that the mind is remaining at ease without being overwhelmed by harm and suffering. And then it says as well as very staunch belief in the Dhamma. So being convinced, having full conviction in the Dhamma. This is also crucial. So when we think of one crucial point in the practice of patience, it is maintaining the confidence, remaining the holding on, maintaining the conviction, the confidence in the Dhamma.
That sure, never seen the neighbor, should temper it, you chewing water water, that was chewing water water, the only but doing is on there. When chewing water, you have to teach him what they shall on there, that did it. From mother, and Mima, chewing slowly, breathe it, and it's taking the bar, and it have a chair, some sort of the Kodevano, Tata Divio Marasra. Chewing woman, and it should control the Chin control Kavaya Kashi Golan Shivata, Go Lami, Lampi, Nil Tomban Tobi, and share the day, Nimu Batan, he shall be that Pasha Jeba, and said Sabatalia, and cheer flower that gives country, another character, new nature, Demba Dinjan tea. And the children, and it really looked at one, lost out to one, and it lost any part of that, lost law of Mountain. Stop from law, and it just out down, and it control of you, and it showed the martial bar, and it was important there to the other, that it is the level 2, it is the
And so it says here that the second or third, if you will, of aspect of the practice of patience is maintaining a very staunch belief, conviction in the Dhamma. And so to have this conviction in the Dhamma, we need to understand what the Dhamma is. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been putting a lot of effort into providing Dhamma education, in presenting the Dhamma. Otherwise, if we engage with the Dhamma in a cultural or traditional way, in thinking that what we need to do if we were to practice the Dhamma is to simply have faith, just to have faith, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to be enough for us. We need to be able to be recognized. We need to be able to recognize. We need to be able to understand what the Dharma is. And the real Dharma is the Dharma jewel. And within the Dharma jewel, the actual Dharma are true paths and true cessations. These are the actual Dharma. And so when we then look into what the meaning is of true paths and true cessations, true paths are an insight into the way that things exist, into selflessness. Wisdom that realizes emptiness, or wisdom that realizes selflessness, which then brings about an exhaustion, an elimination of obscurations, of afflictions, and so forth. And so, to understand what is true, what is real, and to use that in order to put a stop to afflictions, together with the seeds, this is the real Dharma. This is the actual Dharma. And so we place our mind on that. We do not allow our mind to become distorted, to become erroneous with respect to reality, without our mind being influenced by anger, without our mind being influenced by attachment. We remain steadfast on the Dharma. And this is the actual Dharma. So then when we think of what the meaning is of patience, of having a very staunch belief in the Dharma, it is exactly that, to recognize what reality is, selflessness, to remain steadfast on that, to use that in order to bring about the elimination of afflictions together with the seeds. So this is what patience is. Now, looking at what is incongruous with patience, its opposite are hatred, disheartenment, lack of belief, and dislike. It says here that its opposites are hatred, disheartenment, lack of belief, and dislike, or not wishing for it. So hatred is the same as anger, right? So that's one thing that is incompatible with patience. The second one is called disheartenment. So what is it? Well, when we've looked at the nature of patience, it says that it is a mind abiding at ease in its natural state. And not remaining at ease, which means that the mind is agitated, the mind is disturbed, the mind is experiencing a state of disheartenment. Lack of belief and dislike come through suffering. You know, when we have suffering, then we have also a lack of belief and dislike.
서버를 서비 아니 참발을 서버 그 딘지 로 콤니 콤바디 타침바디 야 타침바야 저도 발신 더 생각을 마도 심진 무송하는 자원은 못해서
And then the next statement explains how we bring the practice of patience to its finality. The completion of the perfection of patience is just to fully cultivate the mind that ceases one's anger and so forth. So to use means such as loving kindness, to develop love to others in order to fully cultivate the mind that ceases one's anger and so forth. And it does not depend on getting rid of unruly sentient beings.
이번에 이거 신이 내발라 내가 제발라 친민이 써봤다 랑기가 동원 좀 하는 기 써봤다 저런 예선 써보고
Let's look at the classification, the subdivisions of patience. There is the patience of disregarding harm done by others, the patience of accepting the suffering that arises in one's own mind stream, and the patience of a mind certain about the Dharma.
사실 나는 그야 다른 마음서 더버디야 대신 내가 제발 재미있는 것을 나오는 것이 그런 것이 당사자들이 아니 큰 대비군들로 서로지 그리고 네 말을 சொல்றது 네 말을 라 제기내가 제발 때니 아니 랑 샘만 봐 샘날 내가 그래야 제기내가 제발 재미있는 것을 근데 그래야 고고고.
And so one doubt that could arise in a mind with respect to these subdivisions, this classification of patience. The first one is called the patience of disregarding harm done by others. So someone might think that if I disregard the harm done by others and need to cope to abuse, I will allow anyone to do whatever they will, whatever they wish. Well, this is not the meaning of patience of disregarding harm done by others. What it means is that we do not allow our mind to become disturbed. And so the second is patience of accepting the suffering that arises in one's own mind stream. So here to practice that, we need to have a good understanding of karma. So we think of karma, actions that produce their own results. And through having a good understanding, it's easier to put this form of patience into practice.
You let in Chong, the deep one to woman to buy you, and so the Taman to go with deep Shambachik something. And it changing to do just something, never check something. Gypsy, you go to the lumps, cannot help you. And 요 퇴비치 랑길이야 끼에다 그럼 공주로 마가로 문제로 아니 마기로 니기 끼도 알아 끼워라.
And so in thinking of karma, actions and the results, we recognize that the condition for happiness and well-being, or the conditions for suffering and pain, are karma. They're conditions by actions that we have done before. And without understanding that, when something slight happens to us, some disagreeable situation occurs to us, even if it's just slight, rather than thinking about karma, we tend to blame others for that. We think that that person has done such and such to me, they've harmed me in this way or the other. And as soon as we think along these lines, there is the situation that we experience anyway. the discomfort or the pain that we experience anyway, but we also compound it in adding another state of discomfort when the mind becomes distressed in blaming others. And that gives rise to anger, to not wishing for a certain situation, disliking it, to a mind that is unhappy and so forth. So whatever occurs to us, happiness or suffering, it arises due to karma. This is what happens in an actual sense. But without thinking about it, often we think that I've done nothing wrong. I haven't accumulated the karma for that, and still that person is doing such and such to me. This is not right. This is not correct in relation to karma. And so when we think of karma, when we think of the things that we have done, and then we take whatever happiness or suffering that we experience as a result of actions that we've done before, and we think about it deeply, the mind can better remain in a state of ease. And then the third type of patience is patience of certitude about the Dhamma, becoming the mind that is certain about the Dhamma. And so we then become certain about the Dhamma in that we become certain that being governed by anger, attachment, and ignorance, and some without beginning, and up until now, we've been experiencing suffering and so forth. So becoming certain about this presentation, turning a mind towards the Dhamma and also the Dhamma methods or the Dhamma means for thereby enacting mental transformation. And so when we can turn a mind towards the Dhamma, our orientation becomes a Dhamma orientation. We develop better ability to work with difficult situations, to put effort into making amends, improving our mind and so forth. We are better capable of working hard in a Dhamma practice and bear with the challenges or difficulties. And this is what patience of being certain about the Dhamma entails. And so the next section that explains how to generate patience in one's mind stream reads, "It is necessary to meditate on the benefits of patience and the faults of impatience. Think about how later on you will have few enemies. You will not be separated from dear ones. You will experience much happiness and mental ease. You will die without regret, and you will be reborn amongst the gods after this body has perished." To support that, the Companion of the Perfection says, for those with a mind that neglects the welfare of others, it was taught that the best of ways is patience.
아니 소소 마티버시야 공주원기 소소이다 나미 되게 마티버시야 아니 나미 만찬 없어야 아니 kimse 분도 만찬 없어야 유long 분도 만찬 없어야 그거 만찬이 공주원 서버라서 근데 공주 예미디 삼토바는 저기 되게 공부도 되는 거예요. 공주 예미 상황이 control 동네 지역, control 동네 지역을 사라지 저기 대여 공연치 요마라스가
So this is the best way to cultivate patience, through thinking of the benefits of patience. To see the benefits of patience, we can directly see the drawbacks of anger. So we know that when we get angry, it makes the mind unhappy. We know that based upon our personal experience in having gotten angry before, we know that anger is not a happy state of mind. It is making a mind unhappy. Not only it creates unhappiness in our own mind, also through becoming accustomed to anger, it also makes those around us, our family members, unhappy. It breeds unhappiness and disagreement in our family unit, also with us and our neighbors, with people that live in the same place or in the same country as us. So we know based upon a personal experience how anger is detrimental to us. So when we think of the drawbacks of anger in this way, we can very clearly see the benefits of patience. And if we can see the benefits of patience, we can also become determined or to put effort in the cultivation of patience.
대단히 많은 시험시험에서니 직된 레버 풀품 초바타 초위견 소비 용수격 tun된 남들이 한번이 가족 천장만 또 있고 내수 조기내는 취이고 이제는 너무 세졌어 깨우쳐서 공차라 무슨 길이 있긴 당동게 대다 때문에도 상관없이
So we started to read through this citation from the Companion of the Perfection. So again, it says, for those with a mind that neglects the welfare of others, it was taught that the best of ways is patience. Patience protects that which is good and excellent in the world from the faults of anger. It is the best of ornaments for the strong, the peak of power for those embracing austerities, a torrent of water for grassland fires of malice. All harm is removed by patience in this life and others. The arrows of words of unruly beings are wrecked against the armor of patience of excellent beings. Thereby, they turn into excellent flowers of praise and become attractive garlands of fame. And it continues in saying patience is also the workshop where bodies are made with beautiful qualities and adorned with the signs of a Buddha. Meditate on the benefits as taught here until you reach a strong and stable certainty about them. So we first of looked at the benefits of patience. Now next is the drawbacks of anger. the drawbacks of being impatient or anger. So secondary entry into the Bodhisattva way says, an instant of anger destroys everything that has been gathered in 1,000 eons. All those good deeds, whatever they are, like generosity and honoring Sugatas.
That's something give below the give up Chevalia. Pronounce it, Mena. Give up Chevalia. Pronounce it, Mena. Any complicated, give up some to the Slavi. Samuel, Ambra, the Pekavur,
and so here, when we look at what Shantideva said in his Bodhisattva way of life with respect to anger destroying virtues, well, virtues or a virtuous state of mind, if we're not enthused about virtue, if we do not delight in virtues, we will not be that affected by the predicament of anger destroying roots of virtue. It will not really move our mind. If we are enthused about virtue, it would be a different case.
Me, Hamaku, for that. Me, Chimatu, the sort of degree some devil, and it gave up the Jamna, Tapesa, or something. Gave up the key to Mara, gave them the Kanji, so deep, and it gave the Palanki to go down. So, Jungle, take his own.
And so it's important to develop an understanding of negative actions and virtuous actions, what we need to take up and what we need to cast aside. Not only to develop a more detailed understanding of the virtues that are to be taken up and negativities that are to be cast aside, but also to become predisposed or enthused about putting that properly into practice. If we put it into practice with a sense of confidence in what needs to be taken up and what needs to be cast aside, then we become enthused, we become happy even about performing small or slight, simple, positive actions, and will generate a sense of regret for performing non-virtuous actions, negative actions. Otherwise, we might be thinking that even if I do negative things, if no one else sees me, if others don't know about me behaving in a negative way, it's okay, it doesn't really matter. So if we have this state of mind, obviously we're not going to generate a sense of regret, a sense of remorse for negative actions that we have done before. And therefore, developing an understanding of negative actions and positive actions or virtuous actions, what needs to be taken up and what needs to be cast aside is crucial.
That jungle number dole kawa gas sabu given to the phone that is Kongan just Rema to Konjo and Konjo TV then having and give out talk to your day gas Jakamari. Then she Konjo Kesa you told and it Kevamo Drugian rough. Then Tamawa. Any chigi, any changes somebody in survival, the cow told the South, Gavin Johnson. We can't feel trust you deep the Samaya, and it did a number of the symptoms. Grandmother, Randan Song woman, indeed, we love chin, Gilja, and it low maro, whatever, you know. That cut you child, said that. And chances member in and Mr. Kanka figure and gradually rock and chick say video, Pendra down, Tamil Pashani, only turning chair quality sending. Chances Tommy, literally, and it was a kind of machine in the Chavino.
진앙신기 아니 개원 정도에 간치 아니 저사 밀 개원 정도도 왔어.
And so Shantideva says in his Gata Bodhisattva of life that an instant of anger destroys roots of virtues that have been gathered in 1,000 eons. So Lama Tsongkhapa says this appears to have been composed in accordance with Aryasura's companion to perfection. Now, there is another source, the play of Manjushri Sutra, which states it slightly differently. It says that rather than saying that it destroys virtues gathered through 1,000 eons, it says that it destroys the virtue accumulated over 100 eons. So there's a difference in the degree of anger, the amount of degree of virtue that is being destroyed. So although there is difference, you can say in the numbers, still the essential point is the same. There are different cases that we can call to mind in order to see the difference in the degree of virtue that is being destroyed. Like, for example, who the person is that is getting angry and who are we getting angry with. Like, for example, in the case of an ordinary being getting angry at a bodhisattva, someone that in all ways, in all means, is aiming at being of benefit to others, someone that is so influential, someone that is doing incredible. So an ordinary person becoming angry with a bodhisattva is causing a great destruction of merit, let's say, of virtue, let's say an equivalent to virtue that has been gathered over 1,000 years. But even if the person that we get angry with is not a bodhisattva, let's say that they're not a bodhisattva, but still they have relinquished the pursuit after the affairs of this life, fame and reputation and so forth, and they're still cultivating this altruistic intention. They're trying to be of benefit to others, even if they are not yet bodhisattvas. Also, getting angry with that person is going to destroy roots of virtues that have been gathered before.
예, 다 유난히 같이 장선 그거 첼라 같이 육질라 시비 나만이 주발리 한식 자세 나무 주발리 진동 진동 겨우까지 잡사와 깨지는 이런 시행법부터 길 초기비 때는 장선 붙여내야 개단 점이 장선만이 그 장선 느낌이 따지는 거다. 유대 장선들은 이 마음이다. 소위 진정 변통 되면 파시를 따지 이런 점을 잡아 진정의 손으로.
Some explain that the object of that anger must be a bodhisattva. So that refers to anger destroying roots of virtues over 100 or thousands of eons. Some explain that the object of that anger must be a bodhisattva, whereas others assert that it is any object in general. The former accords with Chandakirti's entering the middle way, or supplement to the middle way. Chandakirti says, therefore, through anger towards a child of the victors, the virtue from giving in ethics one has amassed over 100 eons is crushed in an instant. As regards the person in whom anger arises, even bodhisattvas destroy the roots of virtues if they get angry. So needless to mention, this is the case for one who is not a bodhisattva and who gets angry at a bodhisattva.
예다 요로서 진 장선 개단 정보나 장선을 쳐고 무게대 딱 주스 통지原理 송상발리 개부 기 오타다 생 셔된라 생 방이 양와 통지 차차오나 세기 사진을 투기 받고 사체는 도 진이가 이니기 콜비 자스 동주 농조를 여러 시송시 양 개가디 상벌 송벌 쪽을라 뭐 총을까 내가 제나 잡을 여러
And it continues in saying the entering the middle way autonomy, auto-commentary. So Chandakirti's own commentary to his supplement to the middle way says that Whether or not it is certain that the object is a bodhisattva and whether or not the reason for the anger, seeing faults, is true, the destruction of virtue is similar to how it was explained above. In general, anger does not need to be directed at a bodhisattva in order for it to destroy roots of virtue. A passage quoted from the Sarvastivadin scripture in the Companion of Training. Sarvastivadin is the Vinaya tradition that Tibetan Buddhism follows. If a fully ordained monk prostrates with extended limbs and a clear mind to a stupa of hair and nail relics, he will come to enjoy many thousands of universal monarch kingdoms, as there are particles of dust that cover the ground all the way down to the golden foundation. And even those roots of virtue will be destroyed if the injuries or if he injures or disparages one of pure conduct. Therefore, if one should abandon even anger at a child log, how much more so at a body endowed with consciousness? Some scholars say that destruction of roots of virtue means that the potential of earlier virtue to quickly bring about its effect is destroyed, and the emergence of its effect is delayed, so that the effects of hatred and so forth emerge first. Their respective effects to emerge, however, if they eventually meet with suitable conditions, for no mundane path whatsoever can eliminate the seeds that are to be eliminated. So it is impossible for seeds to be eliminated by the mental afflictions. So let's read through that section again. Some scholars say that distractions of roots of virtue means that the potential of earlier virtue to quickly bring about its effect is destroyed, and the emergence of its effect is delayed, so that the effect of hatred and so forth emerge first. Their respective effects do damage. However, if they eventually meet with suitable conditions, for no mundane path whatsoever can eliminate the seeds that are able to be eliminated. So it is impossible for seeds to be eliminated by the mental afflictions. So Tsongkhapa says that this is not a reliable reason. Even though ordinary beings purifying non-virtues by means of the four opponent powers do not eliminate their seeds, it is impossible for the fully ripened effects to emerge, even if conditions are met later on. Once the peak and forbearance levels of the path of preparation have been attained, although wrong views and the seeds of non-virtues that become the causes of lower rebirths have not been abandoned, wrong views and rebirths in the lower rebirths are impossible, even if these seeds meet with their conditions. It continues with mentioning that Vasubandhu states in the Treasure of Abhidhamma Auto Commentary, as for karma, just a second. All right, so as for karma that produces cyclic existence, some is heavy. Accordingly,
either a virtuous or a non-virtuous karma by ripening sooner can temporarily block the occasion for another karma to ripen. However, it cannot be posited, nor has it been taught that it can destroy virtuous or non-virtuous karma.
Lamrim di sebab jangan lam tunggu wajib boleh ya. Ani kecil dapat tahu sana. Lak saya terus, sebelum itu kalau jangan lam tunggu wajib pun itu ni jangan cini. Jangan lam tunggu wajib boleh ya. Dok ni sebab. He pun sambil lam jin tahu ni ya. Ini kami ni. Dok ni sebab. And these long chicken sama. And Jaron chicken, we come to you later, deep tournament. Lost away. And then the some she gets a jet on the unit of loading.
So there are a few points that are quite a few points that are covered by this section, and we don't get to explain all of them, but there's still a benefit in just reading through them. There's still a benefit in reading through them. Geshe has unshakable faith in that because it is a text, a middling presentation of this states of the path of enlightenment, which was taught by the great master Lama Tsongkhapa, the great Tsongkhapa. And Geshe has unshakable faith in Lama Tsongkhapa and the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa. When Geshe thinks of not only Lama Tsongkhapa, but the writings of Lama Tsongkhapa, having received transmissions of these teachings and also explanatory transmissions of these teachings. Geshe's faith is great in this text. So even just reading through it without dwelling on all the points and explaining each one of them separately, even that, just reading through that can give great benefit.
And again, which is drawing by me, that's Tassalia, giving to the Mambu you're doing. Jungle Mutunga was in the so changes in the Yamaya, but she could pay. And it could be nothing. Jeremy so very long, 60 in the almost in the mountain. And the Dutch river, they were only in G. Lama Chile, Denny, and Jungle Tungochi, Tony, Petuchi, Chongi, and Narangoni, and the Senan, but our conscience in some kanji tall, and in Jungle Tungochi, dog may have a young, and she won't do to each other, so deep, any Mamma Mativi. Someone that came there, low to one, let's get some photo to you good something. Think she gets on the years.
So Geshe sees himself as being really fortunate. It's slightly being off the point, but Geshe still sees himself as very fortunate to be able to encounter the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, at least in this life, having met also his precious teacher. And there were many teachers at Sera Monastery where Geshe was dedicated. You can say thousands of teachers, and yet Geshe made his own teacher, his precious teacher, who had a deep sense of appreciation and respect for even the smallest statement made by Lama Tsongkhapa in his teachings. The attitude that he was taking was to rather apply an alternative meaning to what Lama Tsongkhapa said. He rather took what Lama Tsongkhapa said literally. And so then Geshe, having been trained by his teacher for more than 20 years, also has this great sense of appreciation and respect for the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, and he considered himself to to be most fortunate for having been able to encounter those teachings in his life, supported by scriptural transmissions and transmissions of explanatory explanatory texts. Really, Geshe feels that with a sincere state of mind, with a genuine state of mind, if this text is being transmitted to others, even without a very detailed explanation, definitely 100% definite that it will be of benefit.
Jungle mutungo wachin stompo chip gitu ni dua ini sebab kab jadi jawab mutongan ngaso kab jadi ngal jawab mutongan ngame ini mitan iya chini ini tongan ngateli stompo chip gitu pun anda berdu nanti orang ngarap sedendesi level itu punya orang thani gitu ini kitchen buat ini chop gitu orang boleh ti jungle mutungo wachin stompo gitu. Yes,
it's not making it up. No, it's not that it's kind of making a fuss out of the importance of the teachings of Lamrim and Kappa. Really, it sees those teachings as being so important and so precious. In 1996, Geshe borrowed some money from one of his Geshe friends and purchased a copy of all the teachings of Lamrim and Kappa, 18 volumes of teaching. So he kept those teachings with him all along. And he also, when he came here to Australia, he brought along all these books with him. So he still considered these teachings to be of vital importance, so precious. So Geshe borrowed that money, 5,000 the rupee of it. Yeah, 5,000 rupees from one of his Geshes in order to purchase these books.
Jeng nami chi yudo jamba govani manto mi nimi fo tongchu gi nimi yi sisi heba nyang tu nyong gawa tu dewan khaye jiki chimma muto bata ni medeshi semne ne bata shadan chene patin ki har chingi kyang du din din se bata Zashi de sun Pongatan, Jimmy Dujan, Metebo, Junju Sonko. Young Junju de Shadan Digon, Sobata Yukatun, David Sola, Medu, to the Congress, from the fact. Pay the new summer, go to money Sobogo and Berto. Name such Shevatan, Gatan Juma, Nika, so being a journey, Shadan Common Mangiti, couldn't give of that time. Lama Sola, Kid Kitchen, Magic Hill Sophie, that really shiver chow.
So we'll continue with the reading of this section. So Vasubandhu states in his treasury of Abhidhamma auto commentary is for the karma that produces cyclic existence, some is heavy. Accordingly, either virtuous or non-virtuous karma by ripening sooner can temporarily block the occasion for another karma to ripen. However, it cannot be posited, nor has it been taught that it can destroy virtuous or non-virtuous karma. Destruction of roots of virtue does not mean the mere temporary postponement of its ripening. Otherwise, it would have been necessary to teach that all strong non-virtues destroy the roots of virtue. Therefore, with respect to this, as Master Bhava Viveka has said in his Blazes of Reasoning, and as was explained above, neither non-virtues that have been purified by the four powers, nor roots of virtue that have been destroyed by wrong views or harmful intent can bring about their effects, even if later on they meet with the conditions, just as a seed that has been damaged cannot produce a sprout, even though the conditions are met. Moreover, even though accumulated bad actions are cleared away by purifying them with the four powers as described above, this does not contradict the fact that they delay the rising of higher paths. Therefore, in some people, the effects of giving gifts and guarding ethics, such as the arising of excellent wealth and bodies, are destroyed. However, owing to the effect corresponding to the cause, familiarization with giving in the mind of abandonment, the roots of virtue, of generosity and ethics arise again easily and cannot be destroyed. In others, the arising of the effect corresponding to the cause is a continuum of similar type. Inner ethics and so forth is destroyed, but the arising of an excellent body, wealth, and so forth is not destroyed. Again, others, as described above, will have some realizations of the path that enable them to completely traverse it with within one eon, unless anger towards a bodhisattva who has obtained his prophecy arises in the mind stream. If one thought of anger arises, the traversal of the path within one eon will be delayed, although the path that exists in the mind stream is not relinquished. In brief, I think that when it comes to purifying non-virtue, not all its efficacy is necessarily purifying. Isn't it likewise the case that when it comes to the destruction of virtue, not all its efficacy is necessarily destroyed? Nonetheless, this is an important point, and since it seems necessary to analyze it in reliance upon the Buddha's unique scriptures and reasoning based on them, you should look at the Buddha's excellent teachings and analyze. Thus, the invisible faults of anger are that it propels very unpleasant, fully ripened effects and prevents the emergence of other very pleasant, fully ripened effects. The evident faults of anger are taught in the entry into Bodhisattva way. You do not experience peace of mind and certainty. Previous joy and happiness are ruined and not achieved later on. Sleep does not come, and the mind does not remain at ease. If your hatred is strong, even though those you nurtured with kindness forget about your kindness and kill you. Even friends and relatives get irritated and abandon you. Even those you gather through generosity do not stay, and so forth. Shantideva says in his entering to the Bodhisattva way, there is no bad action equal to hatred, there is no austerity equal to patience. Therefore, patience should be practiced earnestly and in various ways. Thus, you should contemplate the benefits and faults and make effort to develop patience in many ways. It should be understood from the companion of trainings that hatred is not the only faulty conduct that accumulates both major fully ripened effects and the distractions of roots of virtue. There are also holding wrong views that denies reality, abandoning the holy Dharma, despising and being arrogant towards beings such as the bodhisattvas and gurus and so forth.
Round never sing equally never chepa, Yinam, Tor Muriki, Penu, Dinki, Lami, he on the phone, Gashi, Round Dele, Tarachibi, Pen, Dolkenda, never change. The first of taken, then Dinki round never chebi. That check on young, tell a 20 can control. Then, Hetan, Chintro them never sing. Chanson Kigan better check with Chetty, Shigabari. Troy and Jumbo Tonga. Member to go minister. To be new, just new town Tanzania. Share town. the song is like your copy, the jungle of the kitchen shoes. She had the living thought of the young. Gender sinking community, the new non patient. Number 10, Kevin, some gentle, Trinity. She had from a tarot. She had usually gave Donald Noani. Round the parts of the name is given no nation. Hell at 10, late 7 dollar. Hell so Chimot doing give certain resources. Children, young, chi doing go to. Then, Nate Chin student house. That's each other, so what that do not change the dog, do not trouble from the student.
So the next section is how to cultivate the patience that is unconcerned with respect to harm. If you investigate whether someone who harmed you was free not to harm you, you will find that he did not harm you while being in control. He generated a desire to harm you out of causes and conditions such as the seeds of mental afflictions from previous habituation and improper attention. Also, owing to them, he engaged in activities that inflicted harm and thereby produced suffering in others. For under the power of another, the mental afflictions, he had become as if their slave. Anger is also unreasonable when someone harms you under the influence of something else without control. For instance, someone possessed by an evil spirit might, under its power, wish to harm you while you're trying to help him get rid of it. While we're here to strike you, you would not get even the slightest bit angry at him, and instead you would think he is acting like this now because the evil spirit has robbed him of his freedom. You should put effort into doing whatever you could to free him from the evil spirit. A bodhisattva should also act like that. 400 stanzas, and this is something that His Holiness the Dalai Lama quotes quite often. Just as a doctor is not disturbed by one who is gripped by spirit and angry, the sage beholds the mental afflictions and not the person afflicted by them. Moreover, the Master Chandakiri also says in his commentary, there is no fault of sentient beings. This is no fault of sentient beings. It is the fault of the mental afflictions. The wise who have analyzed this in detail are not disturbed by sentient beings. Moreover, the experience of suffering produced by one who harms you is the experience of the effect of a negative action accumulated by you yourself in the past, and the action is thereby exhausted. If you cultivate patience towards it, you will not newly accumulate causes for experiencing suffering later on, whereas if you get angry, you will have to experience even greater suffering. It is therefore quite appropriate to bear minor suffering in order to turn away greater suffering, like when one is patient with bloodletting, burning, and so forth as methods for curing a serious illness. Awesome. So we will leave the text here for today. And okay, so we will finish off with the final Lamrim recitation, and then we'll, after Geshe leaves, we have some message from, I think, announcement from Margot. Yeah, all right. For my two collections, vastest spaces I have amassed from working with effort in this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded parts of teachings, and may I please all Buddhas by my practice, using skillful means, drawn by the strong force of compassion. May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path that I've discerned. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart growing up with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted unto his peace. And the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, but even this credit path enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never departed in any of the lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the 10-fold Mahayana virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may ocean of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you. Dat de Mangolan Santachi of the Pressure de Doma. Someone. Do you need a mic, Malcolm? All right, let's use the mic. So Geshe, he doesn't have to stay. Geshe was wondering if I'm telling him that he's not allowed to stay. They should go away. Well, you can stay.
Okay, is it working for
Yeah.
you? So the announcement is that there is opportunity to gain some merit because we are looking for help with multimedia on Friday and Sunday to set up a camera and turn on speakers and turn off everything after. And you don't need to do it each day, but because we have a group of people who are helping, but if someone of you would like to help from time to time, then please let me know and I will show you everything. So no knowledge is required. I will show you everything. So you could catch me during the lunch or now after. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Geshe is a new sound technician.
Oh, good.